September 16, 2008. Gulf of Aden, 120 nautical miles northeast of Somalia's lawless coast. In the pre-dawn darkness, 250 Somali pirates in 30 speedboats raced toward their target, the USNS Guadalupe, a U.S. Navy fleet tanker carrying 8.2 million gallons of JP-5 jet fuel, enough fuel to power an entire carrier strike group for weeks. The pirates came armed with RPG-7 rocket launchers, AK-47 assault rifles, and DSHK heavy machine guns mounted on their skiffs. They had one escort to overcome, the USS Laboon, a guided missile destroyer. The stakes couldn't be higher. If they succeeded, the explosion would be equivalent to the largest non-nuclear detonation in naval history. 3:30 a.m. The radar operator aboard USS Laboon stared at his screen in disbelief. 30 high-speed contacts had appeared, closing fast at over 40 knots. Captain Michael Harris rushed to the Combat Information Center. These weren't fishing boats returning from a night's work. Intelligence had warned them about this. Somali warlord networks had evolved beyond opportunistic thugs into organized paramilitary forces. The truth was revealed within minutes. Through night vision scopes, lookouts could see the muzzle flashes, RPG-7s, PKM machine guns, and the distinctive bark of DSHK heavy weapons. This wasn't a random pirate raid. This was a coordinated assault by a trained force. The first RPG slammed into Guadalupe's stern structure at 3:42 a.m. The rocket punched through steel plating, igniting a small fire that damage control teams suppressed in under 4 minutes. But the message was clear. One lucky hit into the fuel tanks would create a fireball visible from space. Captain Harris ordered general quarters. USS Laboon's 50 caliber machine guns opened fire, their heavy rounds tearing through wooden hulls and fiberglass. The destroyer's 25mm Bushmaster chain guns joined the fight, each weapon cycling 200 rounds per minute into the swarm. Tracers lit up the darkness like deadly fireworks, but the pirates pressed their attack. They came in waves using swarming tactics designed to overwhelm a single escort. While Laboon engaged targets to port, skiffs raced in from starboard, firing RPGs at point-blank range. One rocket missed the destroyer's bridge by 8 feet, shattering windows and wounding 4 sailors with flying glass. At 3:55 a.m., Laboon's SH-60 Seahawk helicopter launched from the flight deck. The aircrew could see what the surface ships couldn't: the full scope of the attack. Through thermal imaging, they counted at least 200 armed fighters distributed across the flotilla. Door gunners opened fire with M240 machine guns, raking the Liad skiffs with precision fire. The pirates' tactics became clear. They weren't trying to sink the warships. They were trying to board the tanker. Small teams with grappling hooks and assault ladders approached Guadalupe's lower decks, while the main force kept Laboon occupied. It was a sophisticated plan that required coordination and training. Multiple RPGs found their mark. One detonated against Laboon's superstructure, sending shrapnel across the deck and wounding 2 gunners. Another exploded in the water just 50 yards from Guadalupe's hull, the shockwave rattling windows throughout the ship. Small arms fire peppered both vessels. AK-47 rounds sparked off steel plating, while heavier machine gun fire punched through lighter structures. The helicopter crew radioed critical intelligence. At least 12 skiffs were attempting to close for boarding actions. 3 more carried what appeared to be demolition charges, suicide boats intended to ram the tanker's hull. The pilot banked hard, bringing his door gunners to bear on the nearest threat. By 4:10 a.m., the water around both ships was littered with debris from destroyed skiffs. Laboon's weapons had accounted for 9 confirmed kills, but 21 boats remained in the fight. The pirates showed no signs of breaking off their attack. If anything, they seemed more determined as their losses mounted. The battle had reached a critical point. Outnumbered 10-1, with a floating bomb to protect, the crew of USS Laboon faced the largest coordinated pirate attack in modern naval history, but help was already racing toward them across the dark waters of the Gulf of Aden. 4:15 a.m. The distress call had reached USS Cape St. George, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser operating 5 nautical miles south of the engagement. Captain Sarah Mitchell ordered flank speed. Her ship's twin screws churned the water as the 9,600-ton warship raced toward the battle at 32 knots. But air power arrived first. At 4:18 a.m., a P-3C Orion maritime patrol aircraft appeared overhead at 8,000 feet. The four-engine turboprop had been conducting routine surveillance when it diverted to provide overwatch. Through advanced electro-optical sensors, the aircrew could see the entire tactical picture. 31 pirate skiffs still in the water, with more approaching from the Somali coast. The P-3C crew immediately began feeding real-time intelligence to the surface ships. Laboon, overwatch. We have visual on 6 skiffs attempting to flank your starboard quarter. Range 800 yards and closing fast. The aircraft's thermal imaging revealed what the ships couldn't see in the darkness. Pirates transferring between boats, redistributing weapons, and coordinating their next assault wave. Cape St. George entered the fight at 4:22 a.m. The cruiser's twin 5-inch guns opened fire from 4,000 yards, sending high-explosive rounds into the pirate formation. Each shell created a waterspout 50 feet high, the concussion alone enough to swamp smaller boats. Within 3 minutes, the cruiser had destroyed 4 skiffs and scattered a group attempting to mass for another boarding attempt. Laboon's SH-60 Seahawk had been joined by Cape St. George's helicopter. Both aircraft worked in coordination, using their M240 machine guns to suppress pirate fire while directing the surface ships to high-value targets. The helicopter pilots switched to thermal imaging, cutting through the pre-dawn darkness to identify armed fighters. Cape St. George, Seahawk 2. We have positive identification on a skiff with what appears to be a recoilless rifle. Grid 334521, moving northeast at 25 knots. The cruiser's 25mm guns swiveled to the new bearing. A 3-second burst from the chain gun turned the boat into floating wreckage. The pirates adapted their tactics. They began using smoke grenades to obscure their movements, creating a haze across the water that degraded visual targeting. But the thermal sensors on the helicopters cut through the smoke, revealing heat signatures of engines and human bodies. The aircrew became the eyes of the surface fleet. At 4:28 a.m., the tactical situation shifted dramatically. The P-3C crew reported a new threat, 8 additional skiffs launching from a mothership 12 miles to the east. These weren't the wooden fishing boats they'd been fighting. These were rigid-hull inflatable boats, faster and more maneuverable, each carrying 6 heavily armed fighters. Cape St. George and Laboon created interlocking fields of fire around the tanker. The 2 destroyers positioned themselves on opposite sides of Guadalupe, their weapon systems creating crossfire killing zones. Any pirate boat attempting to reach the tanker would have to run a gauntlet of machine gun fire, chain guns, and 5-inch naval artillery. The helicopter crews coordinated their attacks with surgical precision. Seahawk 1 would engage targets on the port side, while Seahawk 2 worked the starboard approaches. Their door gunners used precision marksman fire to target individual pirates, while the aircraft's movement kept them ahead of return fire. Overwatch to all units. We're tracking 3 skiffs attempting to use the tanker as cover. They're moving up the starboard side, using the hull to mask their approach. The P-3C's crew had been monitoring the battle for over an hour, their sensors painting a complete picture of pirate movements. The coordinated defense began taking its toll. By 4:35 a.m., the pirates had lost 17 boats to the concentrated firepower, but they continued pressing their attack with fanatical determination. RPGs continued to streak across the water, and small arms fire rattled against the warships' hulls. The breakthrough came when the helicopters identified the command boat. The P-3C crew had been tracking communications between the pirate vessels, using electronic warfare equipment to locate the source of tactical coordination. All units, priority target, command vessel identified at grid 335518. Large dhow with multiple antennas. Both destroyers concentrated fire on the command vessel. The dhow disappeared in a series of explosions as 5-inch shells found their mark. Within minutes, the pirate attack began to lose coordination. Individual skiffs started breaking off, their tactical cohesion shattered with the loss of central command. The P-3C crew vectored the surface ships toward fleeing pirate vessels. Cape St. George, vector 090 degrees, range 2,400 yards. 3 skiffs attempting to withdraw to territorial waters. The cruiser's guns tracked to the new bearing, sending pursuit rounds after the retreating pirates. Air power had transformed the engagement. The helicopters provided close air support and real-time reconnaissance, while the P-3C offered theater-level surveillance and electronic warfare capabilities. The combination of airborne sensors and surface firepower created a killing field that the pirates couldn't escape. 4:42 a.m. The tide of battle had turned decisively. Of the 30 speedboats that had launched the attack, only 7 remained afloat. The water around both warships was littered with debris, shattered fiberglass hulls, life jackets, and the occasional survivor clinging to wreckage. The final tally was devastating for the pirate force. Helicopter crews conducted battle damage assessment, using thermal imaging to count bodies in the water. Intelligence estimates placed pirate casualties at over 180 killed or wounded, with another 70 captured by boarding parties from both destroyers. Search and rescue operations began immediately. Despite being under attack just minutes earlier, the helicopter crews switched to humanitarian missions, pulling survivors from the water. Military discipline demanded that wounded enemies receive medical treatment, and the ship's medical teams prepared to treat pirate casualties alongside injured American sailors. The strategic impact extended far beyond this single engagement. Intelligence gathered from captured pirates revealed the scope of their organization, a network spanning 3 countries, with funding sources that reached into legitimate businesses. The attack hadn't been random piracy, but a coordinated assault by a sophisticated criminal enterprise. USNS Guadalupe had survived with minimal damage. The tanker's 8.2 million gallons of JP-5 jet fuel continued toward its destination, a carrier strike group operating in the Arabian Sea. The fuel that pirates had tried to turn into a weapon would instead power FA-18 Hornets conducting combat missions over Afghanistan. Enhanced escort procedures emerged from the engagement. The Navy implemented new protocols requiring multiple helicopter detachments for high-value fuel transfers. Aviation support became mandatory for tanker operations in high-threat areas, with P-3C coverage providing early warning of massed pirate attacks. The message to Somalia's pirate networks was unmistakable. Attacking US-flagged vessels would trigger overwhelming retaliation. The combination of surface firepower and aviation support could defeat even coordinated assaults by hundreds of fighters. Word spread quickly through pirate strongholds. American ships were off limits. The largest pirate assault of the modern era ended in total defeat, crushed by US firepower and precision air coordination. If you enjoyed this breakdown, like, drop a comment, and subscribe to Military Air for more untold stories of air power and naval warfare in action.